everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies, featuring the Cooking with Deadpool cookbook. Not the only fish in the sea was pretty good last week, if unexpectedly spicy. We're over to the dessert now for the last recipe in the month, dessert chimi. First up, let's go tell the story. Oh man, you ate all the chimis? You ate all the chimis. Now what? Dessert, of course. If you're looking for a wider variety of confectionery creations, you're welcome to skip ahead a few pages to the final chapter of the book. But if you're one of those dear readers who demanded chimichangas, then do me a favor and stick around so we can see this theme through to the bitter end. Well, actually, this end is as sweet as they come, with bananas and caramel bundled up inside a warm, flaky, sugar-coated tortilla. Skip the meat and beans and hand me a plate full of these bad boys. Well, we kind of need the protein on this, I would say. And so, somewhat surprisingly, I think this is the only chimichanga recipe that we've featured this month for a guy who demands the chimichangas morning, noon, and night. But, as usual, the ingredients are waiting for us at the table, so let's head in that direction. It's not quite a perfect split, but we're intending to go for a 3-part split here. So for the chimis themselves, we're going to need 4 bananas that are just ripe, the zest from a lime, a 1/4 cup of fresh lime juice, a half a stick, aka a half a cup, aka 1 stick or 8 tablespoons of salted butter. That'll be divided. I'm not dividing it now, but I will by the time we're ready for it. Half a cup of light brown sugar, and half a pack of spring roll wrappers. For cinnamon sugar, we're going to need a 1/4 cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Last, for the whipped cream that we'll be making with this, we need half a cup of heavy cream, another teaspoon and a half of ground cinnamon, and another 2 tablespoons of sugar. With that, let's move into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. The recipe calls for the first step to be to cut each banana in half lengthwise, slice into 1-inch pieces, and place in a medium bowl. Since I'm pretty sure you guys are at least smart enough to figure out how to peel and cut a banana, we're going to start with my bananas already cut up. We're going to place them into our aforementioned medium bowl right here. Then we're going to take the lime zest, which we've got right here. Scrape that in. And our lime juice, which here's the 1/4 cup for that. I'm running around a little bit like a chicken with my head cut off, but it's not too bad. Here's our lime juice. Let's see if we can get this open. Oh yes. And we've got our ever-annoying little spigot in there. Fortunately, 1 fork. We'll take care of that nice and easy. Quarter cup of that. Okay. The lime juice can go back in the fridge. The 1/4 cup container can go to the dishes. Then we'll go ahead and toss this mixture together. Looks like that's nice and that's pretty well tossed together. Yep, that'll work. Definitely getting a whiff of the lime out of there, but I've also got my hands in a lime-heavy mixture, so it would obviously make sense that I'm getting a pretty heavy whiff of lime. Just giving my hands a quick wash off camera in case you're wondering what you're hearing. We'll put that mixture off to the side and then we'll move over to the stove. We're over at the stove during a month where we've been cooking with Deadpool and doing a lot with oil. So surprisingly, this is the one recipe where we're not doing anything with oil. Instead, we're taking 6 tablespoons of the butter and melting it over. I've actually got it over fairly high heat, but I'm going to keep a very careful eye on it, and I see the butter's already starting to skate on me. Let me get a wooden spoon out so I can keep that somewhat under control. Maybe move that around a little bit. We'll keep an eye carefully on that, but while that's... Actually, okay. The other 2 tablespoons of butter is going to move into the microwave. I'm not going to start it melting yet, but I will be melting it later. So that's in there. While the butter is melting, I'm going to start breaking the brown sugar up. Because I don't use brown sugar very often, so I want to make sure it's not clumped on me too much, because I will be needing to sprinkle it. I'm just going to go ahead and break this up on me. Go ahead and break this up so it'll sprinkle a lot more easily. Trying to keep the butter moving. I'm trying to make sure the butter melts and roughly spreads all over the pan there. Okay, I think the brown sugar is probably as broken up as I'm going to get it. Let me see, we need a half a cup of that. Oh yeah, I did bring a half cup container in here with me. Okay. Probably going to want to turn the heat down for the next step once we get into the actual cooking. Okay. I'm hoping this pan I bought was big enough for what I'm going to be doing with it. And yes, I am. So now with the butter melted, now we need to get it off the heat, and I'm actually going to turn the heat down. I'm actually going to turn the heat down a bit. I'm going to go down to about a 6. Okay, so now with it removed from the heat, we're going to sprinkle the brown sugar evenly over the bottom of the pan. Okay, hopefully. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We've got the half cup here. Still some clumps, but I don't think I can do anything with that. I'm going to try to bring this. Come on. Alright, it still, I think, is clumping up a little bit. That can probably work. Just sprinkle it like so. Okay. Let me see if I can use the wooden spoon to even that out a little bit. Once I get my hands clean. That's not bad. We'll actually move over to the counter since that's roughly where we're working over here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add the banana lime mixture, ideally in a single layer over the sugar. Okay. Try to get that spread out nice and even. Oop. Okay. Okay, now we want to return that to the heat, so we're going to move right back over to the stove. We're going to let that cook while we're shaking the pan occasionally for 10 to 15 minutes. I'll set a kitchen timer here for 15 minutes. Using the nuker to set the timer. We'll need to shake that occasionally or until all the sugar is dissolved and a thick syrup is formed. Then we're going to remove that from the heat and cool until the filling can be handled, which should take about another 20 minutes. In the meantime, we're not going to sit here and just watch the... In the meantime, we're not just going to sit here and watch that cook. We're going to move over to the stove and do a little bit more preparation work. Or move over to the counter, I should say, and do a little more preparation work. You can probably hear the pan sizzling in the oven, so we're going to try to talk over that. I've also got the oven preheating to 375 right now. So while that's preheating and the bananas are cooking, we're going to take a baking sheet, we're going to line it with parchment paper. I'm hoping this will be big enough. We'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. There we go. I was going to say if I can ever get the parchment paper to tear for me, but there's the 4. See if we can fold all of that down. Okay. Then we got that lined. I've got the other 2 tablespoons of butter in the microwave right now, but I'm not going to melt that until I'm actually ready for it. So with the baking sheet lined, now we're going to start on some of the other stuff. We're going to take a shallow dish like this pie plate. We're going to make the cinnamon sugar in it. So we're going to combine the 1/4 cup of sugar put that right here. That can head to the dishes. The sugar can go back to the table because we'll need that for the whipped cream. And it's what? 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I've got my 1/2 teaspoon right here. That'll turn into 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 1/2 teaspoon along with the cinnamon can go back toward the table as well. We'll give the bananas another quick little shake. Then we'll go ahead and combine the sugar and the cinnamon. And there's our cinnamon sugar all ready to go. We'll put that aside until we're actually ready for it. But I think we're going to wait on making the whipped cream as well until we get to a later step in the process. So we're going to come back when we're ready to start making the chimis. The little birdie on my shoulder that I've learned not to ignore over the years is telling me something's not right. But as this is what I picked up as being called the spring roll wrappers, we're going to go with it. So we're going to place a wrapper on a cutting board in front of me with a short side facing me, but since this is a nice even circle, we're not going to have that. We're going to brush the wrapper lightly with the melted butter. We already melted the other 2 tablespoons in the microwave. So we're going to brush this side with the butter. My instincts are telling me something's not right here, but we're going to go with it. Alright, so with that brushed, we're going to flip the wrapper and place about 2 tablespoons of the filling on the other side of it. And we do want to make sure we leave enough to fold the chimmy over. That should be about perfect. We'll put one more banana there. Now, part of the reason that my little birdie is telling me something's not right could be because I've never worked with spring roll wrappers before. Maybe I'm being paranoid, or maybe the little birdie's onto something. So now we're going to roll the chimmy. Okay, yeah, something's definitely wrong if it's breaking that easily. Because I don't think... I just cannot shake the feeling that something's wrong here. I'm expecting it to be fragile, but it shouldn't be that fragile that it's breaking. I cannot shake this feeling that something's wrong. Before I continue, I'm going to... Something's not right here. I am not at all comfortable with putting these in the oven. I have a feeling that what I got here is what I'm supposed to use to handle the actual wrappers, rather than the actual wrappers themselves. Yeah, I'm doing a little tasting off camera. And they taste like plastic, so I think I got the wrong things. Anyway, I'm going to go see if I can straighten that out at the grocery store, so I will be right back. One thing I've learned, and I'm working off camera a little bit, one thing I've learned in my time is when my BS detector is going off, it's telling me something. What it was telling me was that I had the right thing, but the recipe forgot to tell me something. Apparently, I need to put the wrappers in warm water to make them pliable. The problem is I'm also making them very thin. So I'm wondering if maybe I put 2 of these in. I'm wondering if I maybe do these two to a tortilla. So I'm going to stick them in for about... Pull them out after about 10 seconds. Hopefully they'll fold a little bit better, but we'll try this again. We'll brush this side with the butter. Then we're going to turn it over. We're going to line it with the filling. Like I said, one thing I've learned is that when my BS detector goes off, I should listen to it because it's trying to tell me something. So now we're going to roll this. That seems like it's working a lot better. Then we're going to put that seam side down. I still don't completely like how thin that is. That's kind of bothering me a little bit. So I'm going to do one more. We'll stick it in the warm water for about 10 seconds. Just to try to make it a bit more pliable. That's part of the problem I have with having never worked with these spring roll wrappers before, is I wouldn't know to do that right off the top of my head. Let me see if I can get this one. Looks like I had one in here already, but I'll get this one out. This one can hit the bin. I'm still a little bit worried that these are tasting like plastic. That part's making me a little bit nervous, but hopefully in the taste test, everything will turn out just fine. So we'll brush this with butter. Turn it over carefully. There we are. Then we're going to take some more of the filling. Put it in the middle, leaving space on the sides to roll the chimi. So we'll roll it in like so. And we'll put it seam side down. Now I'm going to turn the camera off to do the rest of these, and then we'll come back when these are ready to go once I finish washing my hands so I can turn the camera off. We'll come back with these in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes because we need to make the whipped cream as well. Hopefully I'm being paranoid about the chimis, but we'll find out soon enough on the taste test. So, now we need to make the whipped cream. So we're going to start off with our heavy cream, half a cup of that. Half a cup. That can go toward the dishes. 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'll go ahead and get that covered and get the heavy cream back in the fridge. And 1½ teaspoons, once again, of the ground cinnamon. One, 2, and 3. Whoa! Trying to put the sugar away and forgot I hadn't closed it yet. Alright, so now we want to beat the ingredients for the whipped cream until soft peaks form. So we'll start working on this. So it turns out that I did have so you might have noticed it during the spring roll, when I was working with the spring roll wrappers, but I did have the right ingredients. I did have the right thing for it. What I needed to know, though, was that I needed to soak them in water for like 10 to 15 seconds to make them viable. To make them, well, not viable. Well, maybe viable is the word, but pliable is what I'm going for there. Make them able to fold them, because I knew as soon as that first chimi snapped like that, I was like, okay, something's wrong. And I've learned over the years that when my BS detector goes off like that, I need to listen to it. Turns out the BS detector was kind of a little bit paranoid. So I ended up driving over to the grocery store essentially for nothing, only to find out that the product I bought this morning was the right thing I needed, but there was a step they forgot about, and I probably would have been able to find out about that with the search on the friendly neighborhood Google machine. But this is not wanting to form peaks. Actually, rather than a spoon, let me see if a whisk gives me a little better results. Well, I can put that in the dishes to be washed, but here's the whisk. This seems too liquidy. I mean, maybe it's, looking at the photo here, I don't think it's supposed to be this liquidy. I'm looking at it and it's still running way too much. I was tells me it's still too liquidy. I'm going to look in the oven as well just to see how the chimis are looking there. I'm still not completely sure I trust those, but I'll try not to be paranoid about those. I'll try not to be paranoid about those until we get over to my desk for the taste test. But this is not wanting to form the peaks at all. It still feels too liquidy. The peaks aren't forming that I need them to. It's possible that I grabbed the wrong thing, heavy whipping cream. That should be what I needed, I would think. Let me try adding a little more sugar, see if that helps everything solidify a little more. Because I know that was the 2 tablespoon container of sugar that I used. Let me try another half tablespoon of sugar. It's going to end up being very sweet most likely, but oh no, actually it is starting to... It's still a little bit runny. This is going to end up being very sweet, but it is starting to solidify on me, if a little bit. It's maybe not forming the peaks that I wanted it to. But I do think the whisk is starting to give me a little bit better results. And it's definitely starting to solidify on me a bit in here. Like I'm starting to encounter more resistance trying to run the whisk through here. Where it actually feels like it's taking some effort to go through. So I'm saying until they form. Trying to make sure I get as much of the ingredients in here as I can. Alright, we do have some peaks starting to form, but I think that's what we're going to call it, because my arm is actually starting to hurt a little bit on this. So I'm going to call it there, and we're going to refrigerate that until we're ready to serve it. So we'll be waiting for the chimis to come out. I was looking in the oven, and I still don't like completely what I see. Okay, yeah, we do have some peaks starting to form in there. So that's going to move to the fridge. And then even once the chimis come out of the oven, let me find a space in here for this to go. I'll push those back. Okay. So even those we need to wait for the chimis to cool a bit. But I'm going to get some other stuff caught up here while the chimis are baking. So we'll come back when the chimis are cool enough to handle. Looking at these chimis having come out of the oven and had some time to cool, I do not trust them at all, but we're going to go with them. So now we've got this sugar the sugar slightly just in shot. So we're going to take one of these, roll it in the sugar mixture. Okay. And that will be good for that one. I'm not going to do the others on camera, but what we will do is I'll turn the camera off so I can roll the rest of them, grab the cream out of the fridge, and I'll meet you guys over at my desk for the taste test. It's only January, and I think this recipe is already in the running for most irritating recipe of the year. The question is it is it in the conversation for the worst recipe of the year? Let's give this a taste and find out. I don't like what I'm hearing as I'm grabbing the first chimi. We'll dip it in the sauce and give it a try. The sauce definitely solidified on me. It's still a little bit runny, but I think it's more the consistency I had in mind. But enough rambling, let's give it a taste. I did have a little bit of trouble with the banana sugar mixture because I think some of the sugar mixture got scorched in, but yeah, this recipe is... I have never done that before on an episode of Mystical Munchies, but I don't know, something just didn't feel right from when I got to the spring roll wrappers. The way that first one broke told me, okay, something's not right here. Then going to the grocery store and figuring out, okay, I need to soak them in water. It still tasted a little plasticky, and I don't know if that's just me not being used to the spring roll wrappers. The filling, I didn't really like the filling at all either. So I think this recipe is not just in the running for worst recipe of the year already. This may be the worst recipe I've ever made on Mystical Munchies. But that's another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week we'll be in a new cookbook, but I'll talk about that more on Wednesday during the end of January recap. As for what's coming up on the channel, tomorrow we're playing Warfighter Modern Edition from DVG, Modern Daytime. Then Tuesday we're playing Twilight Inscription from Fantasy Flight, and Wednesday we'll have the aforementioned end of January recap. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.
Thank you.